My name is Anna, and I am 23 years old. I live in a beautiful city in Poland, but my heart was born in a much warmer place. Growing up in Portugal taught me about big emotions and loud laughter and the kind of love that you think will last until the sun goes out. I have always been a girl who believes in the best parts of people. I am the person who stops to help a stranger with their heavy bags and the friend who will listen to you cry at 3 o'clock in the morning. People tell me I am pretty and that I have a smile that makes the room feel brighter, and I used to believe them. I worked hard to build a life here in Poland, even though the winters are long, and the language is like a puzzle that I am still trying to solve. I had what I thought was a perfect life. I had a job that I liked and a small apartment that felt like home, and most importantly, I had him. We will call him Matthias. Matthias was 25 years old, and he was my entire world. We started dating when I was only 15 years old. He was my first real love and my first everything. We spent 8 years building a history together. We moved from Portugal to Poland together to find better opportunities and to start a new chapter. He was the kind of man who would bring me flowers for no reason and tell me I was the most beautiful woman in the world, even when I was wearing my old pajamas and my hair was a mess. He was attentive and caring, and he seemed so obsessed with me that my friends used to joke about how he would never be able to survive a day without me. I trusted him with every secret and every dream and every penny I earned. I thought I knew every single part of his soul, but the truth was that I was living in a fairy tale that was actually a nightmare hidden behind a very expensive mask. Our life together felt solid like a house built of stone, but I did not know that the foundation was made of sand and lies. The problems began on a Saturday afternoon that started out perfectly normal. The sun was actually shining, which is a treat in Poland, and we were meeting a group of our friends at a local park. We were sitting on a large blanket, and everyone was laughing and sharing snacks. I felt so lucky to be there with the man I loved and the people I trusted. My phone was sitting in my lap when it vibrated with a message notification. I thought it might be my mother calling from home or maybe a work email, but when I looked at the screen, my heart stopped. The message started with the words, "Hi, girlie." It was from a woman I did not know, but she knew everything about me. As I read the words, my vision started to blur. The message was long and detailed, and it contained several pictures that made me feel like I was being punched in the stomach over and over again. This woman told me that she had been having a secret affair with Matthias for 2 whole years. 2 years. That was a quarter of our entire relationship. She sent pictures of them together in another city. She sent pictures of him meeting her parents and her extended family. She told me that whenever I was at work, he would have her over to our apartment. She told me that he would tell her he loved her in the same bed where he slept next to me every night. But the part that hurt the most was the realization that all of our friends who were sitting right there on the blanket with us knew about it. They had known for a long time. They had seen them together, and they had kept his secret while smiling at my face and eating the food I bought. My mind flashed back to a few months ago when Matthias went on a trip back to Portugal. He told me he was struggling with money, and he asked me to send him some extra cash so he could afford his flights and meals. I had worked extra shifts to make sure he was okay, and I sent him every cent I could spare. The woman in the message told me that he used that exact money to buy her an expensive birthday gift. He had stolen from my hard work to impress his mistress. I sat there in the park surrounded by people who had betrayed me and the man who had destroyed my life, and I felt a coldness spread through my veins that I had never felt before. I did not scream right away. I did not cry. I just sat there and looked at him. He was laughing at a joke one of his friends made, and he looked so innocent. He looked like the same boy I had loved for 8 years. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. I stood up slowly, and my legs felt like they were made of lead. I turned around to the group of friends, and I called them every name I could think of. I called them fake and disgusting, and I told them I knew everything. Matthias stopped laughing, and his face went white. He did not say a word. He did not try to deny it. He just sat there with his head down looking guilty and ashamed while I stood over them like a ghost. I walked away from the park and I did not look back. I expected him to stay there, but he followed me home. When we got inside the apartment, the silence was heavy. I finally broke. I started to cry so hard that I could not breathe. I felt like my chest was being ripped open. Matthias tried to come near me and he tried to comfort me. He said he was sorry and that it was a mistake, but how can a 2-year affair be a mistake? A mistake is forgetting to buy milk or taking the wrong turn while driving. A 2-year affair is a choice that you make every single day. I snapped. I started throwing things around the room. I was screaming at the top of my lungs. I was so angry and hurt that I started slapping myself and pulling my own hair because I felt so stupid for trusting him. I felt ugly and worthless, and I kept screaming that I must not be enough for him. That was when he did something that changed the energy in the room. He started begging me to stop hurting myself. He told me that if I was angry, I should hit him instead. He said he deserved it and that he wanted me to take it out on him. So I did. I went on him with everything I had. I was slapping him and pushing him and scratching at his arms. I wanted him to feel even a fraction of the pain that I was feeling in my heart. I was like a wild animal. After a while, I was hyperventilating and my head was pounding. He told me he was going to the pharmacy downstairs to buy me some painkillers because I looked like I was going to faint. As soon as the door closed behind him, something inside of me shifted from sadness to pure cold rage. I saw a pair of heavy sewing scissors sitting on the table. I picked them up and I went to the closet. I took out every single piece of his favorite clothing. I took his expensive coats and his designer shirts and I started cutting. I cut the sleeves off his jackets. I shredded his favorite jeans. I went to his shoe rack and I cut the laces out of every single pair of shoes he owned. I found his wired earphones and I snipped them into tiny pieces. I was like a person possessed by a demon. I went to the bathroom and I broke his expensive eyeglasses. I took his toothbrushes and I threw them out of the window into the street below. I found his bottles of expensive perfume and I hid them in places where he would never find them. I felt powerful in that moment. It was the only way I could feel like I had any control over the situation. It did not fix my broken heart, but it felt therapeutic to destroy the things he loved since he had destroyed the person I was. When he came back upstairs and saw the destruction, he did not even get mad. He just looked at me with pity and said, "It is okay." I wanted to scream that it was not okay. It was less than okay. I told him he deserved a death sentence for what he did to my pure and innocent heart. I called him a cockroach, and I told him I hated him with every fiber of my being. But the weeks that followed were the hardest of my life. I fell into a deep and dark depression. I am in Poland alone without my family nearby to support me. My family is thousands of miles away, and I felt like I was drowning in a sea of sadness. I stopped eating and I stopped sleeping. I would look in the mirror and hate the girl looking back at me. I was so vulnerable and so broken that I did even more damage to myself. I started cutting my own skin because the physical pain was easier to handle than the emotional pain. I felt like I had no self-esteem left. Because I was so alone and so weak, I did something that I still regret to this day. I let him back into my life. He stayed with me because he said he wanted to take care of me while I was depressed. He used my sadness to make himself feel like a hero again. He was the one who had broken me, but he wanted to be the one to fix me so that he didn't have to feel like a bad person. It was a cycle of misery. I would look at him and remember the pictures of him with that other girl, and I would want to scream, but then I would feel so lonely that I would let him hold me. I felt like I was losing my mind. Every time his phone buzzed, I would jump. Every time he was 10 minutes late coming home from work, I would imagine him with her. He told me he had blocked her and that he would never speak to her again, but the trust was gone. It was like trying to glue a shattered vase back together. Even if you get all the pieces in the right place, the cracks are still there, and it will never hold water again. I realized that if I stayed with him, I would eventually disappear completely. I would just be a shell of a person living in a house of lies. I knew I had to get my real revenge. The physical beating and the cutting of clothes were just outbursts of emotion, but true revenge is a cold dish that requires a plan. I started to pretend that I was getting better. I stopped crying in front of him and I started being the sweet and nice Anna again. I told him I forgave him and that we should work on our future. He was so happy because he thought he had gotten away with it. He thought he had managed to keep his life and his girlfriend despite what he had done. But while I was smiling at him, I was gathering information. I used his computer when he was in the shower. I found out that he had not blocked the other girl at all. They were still talking and they were making fun of me for being so depressed. They called me weak and said I was easy to manipulate. That was the final spark I needed to burn everything down. I did not just want to break his things this time. I wanted to break his reputation and his future. I knew that Matthias was very proud of his job. He worked for a large international company, and he was trying to get a promotion that would give him a permanent residency permit in Poland. He had lied on some of his official documents about his previous work history to get the job. I also knew that the woman he was cheating with was actually the daughter of one of his managers at a different branch. He had been using her to try and get ahead in his career. I spent weeks collecting emails and screenshots and financial records. I found the proof that he had used my money, and I found the proof of his lies to the company. I stayed calm, and I waited for the perfect moment. That moment came when the company was having a large celebration for a new project. Everyone was there, including the manager, whose daughter he had been seeing. I had been invited as his plus one. I wore my most beautiful dress, and I made sure I looked better than I ever had before. I wanted him to see what he was about to lose. During the party, I did not make a scene. Instead, I went to the Human Resources office the next morning with a thick folder of evidence. I showed them the falsified documents he had used to get hired. I told them about his unethical behavior and how he was using his relationship with the manager's daughter to influence his career. But I did not stop there. I contacted the woman he was cheating with. I did not yell at her. I simply sent her all the messages he had sent me while they were together. I showed her the messages where he called her a boring distraction and said he was only using her for her father's connections. I showed her the pictures of us together from the times he told her he was working late. I watched from a distance as his world began to crumble. He was called into a meeting at work, and he was fired on the spot for fraud. Because he lost his job, his application for the residency permit was denied. He was given a short amount of time to leave the country because he no longer had a legal reason to stay in Poland. The woman he was cheating with was so angry that she and her father made sure he was blacklisted from every major company in the city. He came home to our apartment crying and begging for help. He did not know it was me who had done it. He thought it was just bad luck or that someone at work had found out. I sat on the sofa and I drank a cup of tea while he sobbed on the floor. I waited until he was finished talking, and then I handed him his suitcase. I had already packed his things. Well, I packed what was left of his things that I had not cut into pieces months ago. I looked him in the eye, and I told him that I knew everything. I told him that I was the one who went to his job, and I was the one who spoke to the girl. The look on his face was worth more than any amount of money. He realized that the nice and sweet girl he thought he could control was actually the person who had just ended his career and his life in Poland. He tried to get angry, but I reminded him that I had evidence of everything, and if he tried to touch me or stay in the apartment, I would go to the police with the proof of his financial fraud. He had nowhere to go. His friends who had helped him hide the affair did not want anything to do with him now that he was a failure with no job and no future. He had to call his parents in Portugal and ask them for money to buy a plane ticket home. He left the apartment with nothing but a shredded suitcase and his shame. After he left, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders that I had been carrying for years. I was finally free. I spent the next few months focusing on myself. I went to therapy to deal with the trauma and the depression. I started eating again, and I joined a gym to get my strength back. I realized that my value does not come from a man or a relationship. I am a strong and beautiful woman who survived a betrayal that would have destroyed most people. I still live in Poland, and I have a new job that I love. I have made new friends who actually care about me and who value honesty. Sometimes I think about that day in the park and the girl I used to be. I feel sorry for her, but I am also proud of her. She was pushed to the edge and she learned how to fly. I do not feel bad about what I did. I do not feel bad about the hitting or the cutting of the clothes or the systematic destruction of his career. He took 8 years of my life, and he treated my heart like it was garbage. He deserved everything he got and more. To anyone who thinks I was too harsh, I say you have never felt the pain of being betrayed by the person you gave your soul to. You have never felt the sting of realizing your whole life was a lie. Revenge is not about being a bad person. It is about making sure that the person who hurt you understands that their actions have consequences. I am no longer the victim of Matthias. I am the hero of my own story. I have scars on my skin and on my heart, but they are a map of where I have been, and they remind me that I am a fighter. I moved to a different apartment in a different part of the city. I wanted a fresh start, where the walls did not hold the echoes of our arguments. My new place is filled with plants and sunlight, and there is no one there to tell me lies. I sometimes see posts on social media from people back home, and I heard that Matthias is living in his parents' basement and working a low-paying job because no one will hire him in his old field. He lost everything and I gained my life back. That is the best kind of revenge. I am still a nice person, and I am still likable, and I am still conventionally attractive, but I am no longer naive. I know how to spot a liar now, and I know how to protect myself. My heart is no longer pure and innocent in the way it was before, but it is stronger and wiser. I know that I will find love again one day, but it will be with someone who deserves me. Until then, I am perfectly happy being alone. I have my books and my music and my freedom. I have my dignity and I have my pride. And most of all, I have the knowledge that I am not someone to be played with. I am Anna and I am 23 years old, and I am the architect of my own happiness. Looking back, I realize that the darkest moments of my life were actually the ones that forced me to grow. If he had never cheated, I might have stayed in that mediocre relationship, forever never knowing my own strength. He thought he was breaking me, but he was actually just breaking the chains that kept me tied to him. I am grateful for the lesson, even if the teacher was a monster. I want to tell every girl who is going through something similar that it gets better. You might feel like you want to die today, but tomorrow, you will find a reason to live. And if you decide to get a little bit of revenge along the way, just make sure you do it right. Don't just act on emotion. Use your brain and wait for the right moment to strike. When you do, make sure they never forget your name. I will never forget the look on his face as he walked out of my door for the last time. It was the look of a man who realized he had lost the best thing he ever had. And I was the woman who realized I was finally better off without him. My life in Poland is just beginning, and I am excited to see what happens next. I might stay here, or I might move to a new country and start all over again. The world is big, and I am young, and I have so much left to see. I am not the girl who got cheated on anymore. I am the woman who took her power back. I am the one who won. I hope he hears about how well I am doing, and I hope it burns him every single day. I hope he remembers my face every time he tries to sleep. I hope he realizes that he didn't just lose a girlfriend, he lost the only person who would have ever truly loved him. But that is his problem now. I have a life to live, and I am going to live it to the fullest. I am going to dance and laugh and love again. I am going to be happy just to spite him. Because the best revenge is not just destroying his life, it is making sure that your life is better than it ever was before. I am standing on my own 2 feet, and I am not afraid of the dark anymore. I have found my own light, and I am never going to let anyone blow it out again. This is my story, and I am the one who gets to write the ending. And let me tell you, the ending is beautiful. I am standing on my balcony looking out at the city lights, and I feel a peace that I have never known. The air is cold, but I have a warm coat and a warm heart. I am Anna, and I am finally free. I am going to go inside now and close the door on the past. The future is waiting for me, and I don't want to keep it waiting any longer. I have learned that you cannot change the past, but you can certainly change how it affects your future. I chose to be a survivor instead of a victim. I chose to be strong instead of weak. I chose myself. And that is the most powerful thing anyone can ever do. I am 23 years old, and I have my whole life ahead of me. I am going to make it a great one. I am going to travel and see the world and meet new people. I am going to be the person I was always meant to be. And if I ever see a cockroach on the street, I will just smile and keep walking, because I know I am much bigger than anything that tries to crawl under my feet. I am Anna, and I am the queen of my own world. I don't need a king who lies and cheats. I just need me. And that is enough. It is more than enough. It is everything. I am signing off now, but I want everyone to know that they have the power to change their lives. No matter how bad things seem, you can always find a way out. You just have to be brave enough to take the first step. And if you need to cut a few pairs of shoes along the way, well, that is just part of the journey. Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. Don't be afraid to demand the respect you deserve. And never ever let anyone make you feel like you are not enough. Because you are more than enough. You are amazing. And you deserve to be happy, just like me. I am Anna, and I am happy. And that is the best revenge of all. I hope this story helps someone else out there who is feeling lost. You are not alone. We are all in this together, and we are all going to be okay. Just keep moving forward and never look back. The best is yet to come. I can feel it in my bones. The sun is going to rise tomorrow, and it is going to be a brand new day. And I am going to be there to see it, with a smile on my face and fire in my soul. Goodbye to the past and hello to the future. I am ready for whatever comes next. I am Anna, and I am free.